Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are going to talk about a year with Groove, and I am LaShonda Brown with Bootstrap Biz Advice. If this is your very first time here, I want to say welcome. I know that intro was very extra, but if you'll learn anything about me, you'll know that I'm always doing a little bit more than anyone ever asked for. So that was actually a simulation of what Groove looks like. And quite simply, Groove is a mobile application that just rolled out a beta that really helps people to get more done in less time. And it has provided me with community and accountability, and it has just been such an incredible year to watch how this little application has changed my life. So, before we all decided to disperse for the holidays, I wanted to invite two of my favorite groovers onto my live stream on YouTube to talk about this app. So if you are watching this live, I really want you to engage in the comments because we have the ability to put your comment on the screen. So feel free to share stories about how Groove has impacted your life or just share something ridiculous because if it looks funny, I'll probably click on it anyway. So that's kind of how this is going to work. This is super chill. This is not a webinar, but you will learn something. And if you are watching in the replay, I encourage you to share this and also to download Groove. So without further ado, I am going to allow my lovely guests to introduce themselves, and then we're just going to chat. So I am going to bring up the head of community at Groove, Taylor Harrington.
Woo! So excited to be here.
So Taylor and I actually just met in person, like a couple weeks ago, I think it was?
Yeah, crazy. I feel like it was such a long time coming too. So it was so good, but it felt so natural after all those groups together.
It was like almost too natural. So I just rolled up on you and hugged you.
You're also just an internet friend, but suddenly you're not.
Oh yeah. And I really want you to tell how you ended up in the Groove ecosystem because I feel like you have a really cool story about community.
Thank you. Yeah, so I prior to working at Groove worked with bestselling author Seth Godin. So I was building online learning experiences for people from all over the world who wanted to do things differently. It was a lot of folks who were starting their own freelance businesses, who were in corporate, but were itching to do the next big thing that they were more passionate about, things like that. So the courses were called Akimbo and Alt MBA. And I just had so much fun with that organization and with the folks that were a part of it. And it really opened my eyes to what it could be like to focus more on doing community work, not just marketing, which is what I did the most of there. And so as I was kind of looking to transition and make community 100% of my job, I found Groove and I literally sent Josh, who is the CEO and co-founder, a message and was like, hi, you're building what I've been dreaming of. How can I help? And so we had our first conversation from there. And I had always been in love with co-working spaces and how incredible it was to be in a physical co-working space with people working on all these different projects who had a similar energy about the type of work that they were doing and how passionate they were about the work they were doing. And I had dreamt, like, how do you kind of mesh my physical co-working experiences that I had in college and then this global community that I was exposed to through working with Seth? And that was really Groove. So I've been there now for about 18 months. I was the first full-time hire. And when I started, it was just Josh and Sruli full-time as two co-founders. Tova was working on the product as well, the third co-founder, but was not full-time yet. And I just remember thinking, this is crazy. They were both in Israel at the time. I was joining these two guys that were starting something from pretty much scratch. It was really early stages. We had 23 community members when I joined, and now we have over 1,000. And so it's been wild to see the growth over the last year and a half. And yeah, I'm excited to have a whole conversation about it. And it's crazy to just be with community members and talk about it because it's been a journey.
I just think it's really, really telling that Groove put community first. Because I think that's reflected in how the application feels as a user, but also feels as you continue to invite other people to it. It's like you're coming into not just an app, you're coming into a community and it's digital and we're spread out all over the world. But ultimately, if you are working in isolation at home, you can have community through this application. And one of the things that I say all the time about Groove is that this is an application that's going to not take from you, It's actually going to give to you.
Yes.
Used to like applications being like, oh my gosh, I just lost my life and this endless scroll. But like when you use Groove, you walk away going, I'm better for that.
Yeah.
I didn't procrastinate as long. I didn't take as long to get things done because I was actually getting focused work done. And I think that is so important because not only can you have that experience inside yourself, but you have typically 1 to 3 other people celebrate, like, no, you got it's done. Like you said, I will do. You left for 50 minutes and you came back and it was done.
Yeah.
You can spend time with your family. Now you can go and invest in self-care. Now you can simply log off knowing that the work got done because you were able to be focused for a very small amount of time. And so I have just really enjoyed the amount of people that say, I procrastinate so much working from home because I'm here, other people are working. But as soon as I get on Groove, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, and I was looking at my bookshelf because I have a book. I don't know where it is, somewhere in there. I've got my Christmas tree now in front of the bookshelf. So it's a little hard to get back there. But it is a book called How to Break Up with Your Phone. And it's written by Catherine Price. And I read this the summer before I had heard about what Groove was building. And I think it's really important to say, while I work on a mobile app every single day for work, I also have really special boundaries with my phone and how it's used and what it's for. And I think that, our friend Hannah, who's going to join us in a moment, has a whole thing about how she unplugs from her phone. And so I think that there's something really special around that piece of it. A lot of people who are on Groove are very intentional about how they use their time. And Groove helps me use my time better and helps me think about how I can, as you said, get off of my phone and go and enjoy the world. Go and enjoy some of the other things that I care about. But I focused and I spent my time effectively. So anyways, if anyone's looking for a book recommendation, I highly recommend Catherine Price's work.
Well, and I think it's wonderful too that the Groove employees use the app. There are a lot of people, and I know this is going to sound like a really gross comparison, but like, please pick up what I'm putting down. Like, you have people who like work at McDonald's, you work at Panera, and you're like, girl, because I know how that is just made. I ain't eating that. You know what I mean? But it's so telling when the people actually working behind the scenes are like, no, I'm going to Groove to get my Groove work done.
Yeah.
How many times have I been on a Groove with you, Taylor, and you're like, girl, I'm working on the email you're going to receive in 3 days.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I just think like, oh my gosh, this is what an incredible thing that this application is not only helping its customers, but it's helping its staff to be more connected and to be more effective. Like I really don't know many applications I can say that about. So I don't know. Groove is something that I feel like is such a necessary disruption right now. And I'm just like really cool. Like, I'm really glad that I get to be one of the cool kids to like be in this community before everybody started using it. Like at first I was like, I'm telling no one. I'm just going to be super productive and no one will understand how this is happening. And now like, okay, fine, you can come in. But speaking of coming in to Groove, I would not be here if it was not for the Hannah Brencher. So I want to bring So I need to bring her up and talk about how she ended up in the Groove community. So hey, Hannah.
And with the cat.
So Hannah, I think you should tell people your book jacket intro, and then we can talk about how you ended up in Groove, because you are a special soul.
Yeah, I am. Hello, everyone. My name is Hannah Brencher. I am an author, an online educator, and I speak all over the country. And I'm really passionate about advocating and talking about mental health, but also building disciplines and rhythms and routines into your life. And so, I found Groove. Well, what's funny about how I found Groove was that I had been listening to a podcast that talked about like a virtual co-working thing that had been happening during COVID. And I was like, oh, I need that. I like reached out. They didn't have a website or anything, but I like reached out to the email addresses and no one ever got back to me. And I think I attracted Groove into my life because literally like 3 days later, I get an email from someone at Groove and they're like, hey, was doing some searches and you use the word focus a ton in your social media content, and do you want to try out this app? And so I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some kind of digital co-working as a new mom in the midst of a pandemic. And I started grooving and like never looked back. I think people probably thought at the very beginning that I was an employee of Groove for how much that I was grooving, like so intensely. But I totally agree with you. Like, I thought it was so cool, like to find out like these people that I was grooving with was like head of community or like Cerulli, who's like, hey, I'm making some tweaks. So like tomorrow you'll see these in the app. And like, it just was such a cool experience that I'd never found before with people all over the world.
Well, and I think that's so wonderful that your content attracted Groove to you. Right. So, as I'm going to say this, guys, and I'm always like interjecting marketing strategy into anything, but you can attract brands to you that are in alignment with your values if you express what those values are. Right. Like your values do not benefit you if you keep them like under lock and key. Like you need to actually be, the biggest ambassador for the things that you actually care about. Because when you do that, you find yourself associated with people and organizations that really fuel you to continue that journey because they're right there with you. I remember like interacting with Jotform and I thought, oh, they found me because I'm really good at tutorials. And they're like, no, ma'am, you said the word bootstrap and this is a bootstrap tech company. And for that reason, we are in alignment. We love that you care about being fiscally responsible when it comes to growing a business. That's how we feel. We love that. We love that it's a value for you. And so we want to be connected with you. And it just so happened I was good at tutorials, but that was what attracted them to me. So I get it. Like I watched that happen over and over. And I just want to encourage you. Like if you're in a situation where you're like, man, I don't feel like I'm getting the notice of the people that really resonate with what I'm passionate about, just keep talking about it. Because eventually good old Google will put you at the top of the list for those keywords and people will find you. So I love that. I love that you guys are here. I love these comments. Like Groove is a game changer. I have someone who said, I just joined Groove, looking forward to using it to focus. So this is some really exciting feedback that people have about this application. And so if you guys have never heard of Groove until this live stream, I want to encourage you to go to lashondabrown.com/groove. Technically, there's no waiting list, but this is very helpful for us to see how people end up in the application. So go to lashondabrown.com/groove. If you want to join, come on in. You can start working on your New Year's resolution now. Like, honestly, if you want to be more productive in 2023, why not start now? You can get
This reminds me at the end of American Idol where they're like, and down below, that's the phone number you got to call. Like,
you get 10 votes. You get 10 votes
today. Yeah.
That's like, if you want to see the win, right? and I should say too, shout out to StreamYard for making me feel like a whole production company while I'm live streaming. Like I'm giving you guys pop-ups. I'm giving you comments. I'm giving you not high resolution because I didn't pay for that level, but we're getting 720 and it's giving. So we thank you, StreamYard, for making that possible. But I do want to just start bouncing around questions for each other because I just want us to like pick each other's brains live. So I think I'll start asking Taylor a question.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there.
Hot seat. I'm ready.
Oh, and I just want to say thank you, Ash. She said, truly.
Yes.
Seamless. Ma'am, we thank you. We thank you. I'll be honest with you guys. You can see my strategy in plain view. I'm a believer that we might be able to create a system where people can actually edit their YouTube videos as they're creating them using StreamYard. And so I am testing out so many different things to try to make that possible, to make YouTube more accessible to busy entrepreneurs. So that's part of the reason why I'm testing all this stuff out so that I can teach you guys. But I'm loving it. Like it's real fun. So we're just going to keep using it. But my question is for the fabulous Taylor. And My question to you is this, Taylor. If you were to describe Groove to someone who has never heard of the app, what would your pitch be for the app? I'm just curious.
Well, we've done this exercise many times. And it's funny because I think over time we've continued to say, like, well, what is it that's clicking for people? And how do we narrow that in? One of the ways that I like to think about it, because I relate to this a lot, is I would say, oh, when you were in college or when you were in school, did you ever sit at a table with someone and get your homework done? And sometimes while you were getting your homework done, working on those projects, you might have had a little bit of connection, had a little bit of conversation between those things. And it just felt better getting your stuff done next to someone else. And you were just so much more focused because you were next to that person. That's what I felt back in college. And that's really what Groove has provided for me as I work from home, is being able to sit next to someone else virtually and be able to get stuff done next to each other. So that's like how I relate it to something that's already happened in my life. I think the way I also like to describe it is, if you're, it's funny, Rebecca is like, yes. I think the other thing is it reminds me, and we talk about this a lot on the Groove team too, is who are some of those interesting people that you've always wished you were connected to, but you just haven't found the way to connect with them. Like you wish you could get lunch with all of these cool freelancers, entrepreneurs, content creators, all of these people that you're like, I know they're out there and they're thinking differently like I am, but I just don't want to put another virtual coffee on my calendar. And Groove is a way where you can hop into the app and click the big green button, and up to 1 to 3 of those people will join you in a matter of a few minutes, and you can hop into a focus session. And it's just enough social connection that you feel energized by it without it taking over your entire day or your entire hour. Yeah, it's like the big communal table at a coffee shop. But it's structured, which I think adds a lot to it. So yeah, those are a few ways I like to describe it.
I love that. And I feel like, Taylor, you would probably have some questions for us. So
yes,
I hope you don't go crazy with this.
Crazy.
But I'm going to allow it.
Never.
Ask away. Ask away.
Okay. Two things, I think. I've got 2 hot questions. One is, I would love to hear, what has Groove been most helpful for you? So yeah, we'll start there. Think about maybe a project, a person you met. We'll see where it goes.
I pick Hannah to go first.
Okay, I can go. It's hard to pick one thing though, you know? I feel like when I have not been grooving as much lately, and I'm coming back. I am. But when I first started Groove, I was very isolated in the midst of the pandemic. And when you work for yourself, you can often feel like, okay, well, if I don't show up today, no one's going to care. Like no one's going to hold me accountable. And what I've loved about Groove is that it is a way to hold myself accountable. I found Groove to be, I do a lot of cleaning on Groove. It's not like cleaning is like not my favorite thing in the world, but I find that I'm like, you know what, I could do this in 50 minutes. And like, I will like make my little task list and I will get to work. But I think like beyond that, like I can't even really put into words like the connections that I feel like I have forged over Groove at times in my life that I needed those connections, you know. I remember at one point, like my daughter was in the hospital and I was grooving just to check in with like Taylor and Shayna and like David and Garfield. And it was like, I've never met these people in person, and yet they have become this intricate part of my life that like, it's not even just about co-working to me. It's like, these people are my people, you know, like, and that was something I was never expecting, and definitely never expecting to get from a phone. When I found Groove, I was in the midst of my year of 1,000 unplugged hours. And I was like, well, this is going to be tough now because I really want to be plugged into this, but like also need to have my phone off. So try to find that balance.
No,
wow. I love really all
cool. That. Yeah. And I think that's interesting that you said too, like checking in with people you've never met. Like what an interesting dynamic that we genuinely do care. You know what I mean?
And okay, and this is where, like, I mean, I could go off on this, and I know we're not going to because we've got a certain amount of minutes, and I want to hear LaShonda's answer. But I talk a lot about the opposite of loneliness, and it's a phrase that was first, from what I know, said by a woman named Marina Keegan in a Yale commencement speech in 2012. And she basically says, it's not quite community and it's not quite love. It's this feeling that there are people on your team who are in this together. And I found that definition back when I was in high school. I read her commencement speech and I was like, I would love to make the world keep feeling that, the opposite of loneliness. Like that is the feeling I want to spread in the world. And I truly feel like that's what grew. It's like, it is, that's what like Groove does. I think it spreads that feeling because you feel less lonely in the world from a place that you don't even have to leave. It was from the comfort of your own home, in your own space, that you got to feel that. And I just think that's what's so incredible about it. And what gets me so fired up, because like personally, I found that in college, it was quite lonely trying to do things differently. You know, in college, everyone's like, oh, you're an advertising major, you're going to go in-house, you're going to go agency style. And like, that's the only thing. And I had this like weavy path that I was creating in my head. And I was like, where are all the other people that are on that too? And I felt like in my work with Seth, I was able to find a lot of those people, but finding a way to continually connect with them beyond like a 30-day workshop was something I hadn't found until I found Groove. And so that feeling of the opposite of loneliness and being able to just pop on the app and feel that, I think is something so special. Yeah, Ash got it right. Like, it's about having those people around you that are going to help you grow and help you learn. And it's just a really generous community.
So speaking of generosity, I feel like one of the very interesting things that happened for me is I was transitioning out of a decade of doing client work into being a full-time content creator when I really started grooving a lot. And I found that if I wrote a script, the end product was just a better video. But I don't like writing scripts. And so here was this thing that I'm like, this will inherently serve my audience better, but actually putting down on paper what I plan on saying instead of just speaking off the cuff, it just felt so like laborious to me. And so I was like, you know what? Let me start using Groove to sort of force myself, guilt myself into doing the things that I know are helpful that I cannot motivate myself to do right now. Like, I'm not going to fake the funk. I do not want to do it. I know it will be good when I do it, but I just cannot just, summon the ability to get it done. And I think the biggest moment for me was when I started using Groove to work out. And I was like, okay, I know when I work out, and I think actually, Hannah, you talked about this in a blog post one time, but it has like the equivalent effect on your brain. It's like, I think it's 20 milligrams of Prozac, something like that. And so the idea is like, you will literally feel better mentally when you move your body to the point of like breaking a sweat, right? And you don't have to go like super hard, but like, exert yourself a little bit. And so what I would do is say, okay, it's a workout, Groove. I'm going to tell them, guys, my intention is to work out during this Groove. I do not want to do it, but that justifies why I'd have to do it. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And I realized that by using Groove to kind of give me that accountability to take care of myself, I actually started doing it more often. And I realized I was able to show up and be the person that I wanted to be because I had just a few people who were willing to say, I'm going to stick with you and make sure you actually do it. And so I have never experienced that level of accountability from people who did not know me in person.
Yeah.
Right. It's usually your mom, your dad, your sister, brother, friend, whatever. But to think, here's this complete stranger who does not benefit at all from me working out in my living room. They can't, burn my calories. Like, all they're doing is saying, we're rooting for you. Man, that made such a difference. And so I think I will say that is probably the biggest benefit of Groove is you can get accountability whenever you need it because there's a global community. If you are a night owl, God bless you, I'm going to be asleep. but I wake up at the crack of dawn. So it's like, okay, because I wake up at, 5 o'clock in the morning, usually none of my friends are willing to provide accountability at 5 a.m. But in London, it's the afternoon. So my London friends on Groove can help me do what I need to get done. And so, man, that has just been like, that's unmatched. No app can provide that. And so right now, Groove is free, y'all. Y'all get in when it's free. Okay.
Definitely.
Get in now because it won't be forever. But there'll be some version of it that's free forever.
Yes.
But I will tell you, like, now is the time. Now is the time if you are feeling that isolation, if you're feeling a lack of community. I'm just reading so much right now about people needing community, and it's already working on Groove. So just hop in to what's actually working.
Amen.
Wow. Yeah. Well said.
I cannot believe it is 1:27. And I was like, definitely not going to go longer than 1:30. So friends, we going to land this plane. Let's see what you guys are saying in the comments. Heather says, love the team accountability at those weird hours. Yes. Huge benefit. Rebecca says, how many times can I say yes? I love learning about what others are working on. Never thought about those early morning hours. I'm there. Join me.
I think it's so interesting too, because we're at this stage. We just finished our seed round for Groove. And it's like that next stage to get to Series A is we've really got to figure out product market fit, which is this idea of like, who is this for? And one of the most interesting things is like people are cleaning in the Groove and people are working out in the Groove and they're also writing their books in the Groove. And it's such a fascinating time to be leading a community like that, where there are so many uses for it, but there's common threads in the type of people that are showing up and the people that want to connect with each other. And we're doing like a whole deep dive right now to figure out what are those common threads? How can we name them and find more people like that? It's been a powerful experience. I know Hannah and LaShonda got an email with a survey, as well as any groover who's grooved more than 5 times last week. And so we're trying to learn as much as we can through that, in-depth interviews, and we're just so transparent, I think, as a company. I know LaShonda spoke to this a little bit before, but trying to learn as much as we can from the community and figure out how we can move forward in making their dreams come true. So yeah, it's an interesting time to be talking about Groove and noticing the different ways people use it.
We got one of our most beloved traditions that I think made me a 10 times better wife from Groove.
Really? What is that?
I started doing at the end of the day, because I'm one of those people where I'm like, I could just keep going, and I needed a way to find a barrier between working and powering down. So I started doing these turn down grooves, like we call them turn down or wind down. And I would spend the 50-minute block just doing like cleaning up the space, like dimming the lights, lighting the candles, setting the tone so that like we could move into the evening part without feeling like the house was in disarray. And like, I found that 50 minutes was that perfect time block. And when it was over, that was it. Time's up. It's time to power down. And like, we still to this day are doing it. I don't always do it with Groove, but it's like I set the timer and I go.
Turn down Groove. Like that.
Maine loves
brilliant.
it. For somebody who doesn't like to clean,
brilliant.
Loves it. So I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
I think that is incredible. And like, I don't know how many times you said the word Groove, but y'all just do it. Just
again,
do
like
it.
American
What you
Idol.
waiting on? What you waiting on? Click on that link. Well, no, you can't click on it, but link in the description though. And so I just want to say thank you to Taylor and Hannah for being my first guest on YouTube Live. Like I was hoping it would work, but I wasn't positive it would. So I'm grateful that you guys were my guinea pigs. This was insanely fun. I want you guys to know you are always welcome at the Groove table. So if you are not currently sitting at it, get on it. We are that big table at the coffee shop, ready and willing to help you to get done what you need to get done, because you'll be better off for it. So again, I'm LaShonda Brown. This is Bootstrap Biz Advice, where I teach you how to grow a biz without breaking the bank. So if you need that, if your money is funny, find me on the YouTube and I'll show you how to save and get more done in less time. So I encourage you to look at that link in the description if you are watching the replay so that you can stay in touch with Hannah. She's got so many resources to help you with habit building and focusing and creating your routine. Obviously, Taylor is going to be rocking out Groove all the time. That's her job. So she's going to be there.
Like, I want to hang out with you, but it's also my job.
But it's also her job. So she's going to be there. And I will be on YouTube. I will be on LinkedIn. Occasionally I will pop into Instagram to dance a little. So feel free to find me. But until next time, friends, ta-ta for now.